Good morning, my name's Olivia Goddard and I'm here today to do a book review. I've not done one in a while, but I've been asked by an old friend of mine to read and review her book. It's called Unveiling Faith, A Spiritual Journey of Transformation. It's by Faith Apiafi Hailsham. And I think it's a book that's really been born out of her reaching 40 and reflecting on her life, on the things that she's achieved, on her accomplishments, on her spiritual journey, and the setbacks as well. It starts off with her upbringing in Nigeria, speaks of her family, her immediate family and her extended family, speaks of her school life in boarding school in Nigeria, her move to London and her pursuit of further academic study in London, along with her pursuit of career, her finding a new church home and building a ministry, finding purpose, understanding the difference or coming to the knowledge of the difference between culture and biblical principles. As before she came to London, they seemed in her mind to be one and the same. This is what I gathered from the book, one and the same. Culture and Bible truths were almost amalgamated to be one thing. And as she came here, she was able to understand that actually some things that she thought were biblical were actually cultural. I found that really interesting. It's a book of reflection and encouragement and inspiration. I think the reflection part, she brings us into the journey with her, because at the end of every chapter, there are reflective questions where you can ask yourself, from the salient points of that chapter, you can look inwards and kind of take inventory and say, okay, well, I've been through this, and this. It might not be exactly the same thing, but I've been through this. How did I feel about that? How did I deal with that? How will I deal with it in the future? You know, what can I do to grow from this or learn from this? So I really like that about the book as well. She goes into great detail about her desire to marry and to have children. And though that hasn't happened yet, she speaks of and encourages the reader on how to deal with the waiting season, the season of waiting. And sometimes those seasons can be so long. She watched and prayed for many of her friends to marry and to have children, and has seen them all come to pass. And whilst she was the bridesmaid for many, she has not yet been the bride. How that can feel and what that can do to self-esteem and what that can do to your personal walk with God, and what you're feeling and thinking about why God has not yet answered your prayer. So she speaks about that. She speaks about how, people encouraged her, even Christians encouraged her to do her own thing, really, to cut corners, to find a man and marry him, to get pregnant and have a child, otherwise she'd be alone. And these kinds of things could be, it can instill fear into people, and it can cause people to go off course and to do things that are contrary to the word and contrary to the purpose and plan for their life. But Faith decided to stay anchored to her God, to trust in her God, to believe him, even when the circumstances or situations around her don't necessarily look like how she would want them to. So I found it so encouraging that she stayed steadfast, even in the times when, things were looking bleak. And as well, anytime that she may have made decisions in haste or deviated, she had very good friends around her, godly friends around her that would speak and be obedient, speak into her life and say, I think you've made this decision in haste. Think about it again, pray about it again, or I've received a word and this is the position here. And she would be obedient to that. She would listen, she would hear, and she would pray about it and trust God. And let things go when she had to let things go, when she knew that certain people were not for her, or this relationship was not the one. So I really admire, I really am inspired by her determination to pursue holiness and godliness in spite of everything. It's truly, truly inspiring. So I want to just encourage everyone to read the book. I want to let everyone know that though your journey may not be about marriage or children, everybody is waiting on God for something, in terms of, believers. We wait on him, whether it be for healing or a career or children or anything, whatever it is, we're waiting on God for something. And in the waiting season, there are things to be learned. There are ways to behave. And this book encourages us to wait well, to trust him in the seasons of waiting. And so it's available on Amazon, and I think also on her website, which is www.faithhailsham.com. So all the best. Thank you so much, Faith, for encouraging me to read it. I read the book in about 2 weeks. It was really good and truly inspiring. Thank you.